Okay, and now she's eating the microphone. Atheist Nomads episode 269, The Real Reason We Have Hurricanes.
The podcast you're about to listen to includes cursing and talking about hoo-haws. Please be advised.
Welcome to another episode of Atheist Nomads. I am Dustin, and joining me is Lauren.
Hi.
And you already heard Little Miss Kylie.
Yep, she's joined us. She's so cute. Oh, God.
Yeah, and hopefully she won't be too terribly noisy tonight. She should be going to bed here pretty soon.
Yeah, we're splitting responsibilities right now. I've got Rocco.
And I've got Kylie.
There we go.
So we are both on the tail end of a cold.
Yeah, so I apologize for any coughs, sniffles, wheezes,
nasally sounds,
deep sounds, throaty sounds.
Yeah.
Although I should have maybe taken advantage of the cold and used my sexy voice. But, no. Oh, God. We were supposed to record yesterday, and it was not going to happen.
Yep. And we were originally supposed to record Monday, but Aaron was sick, so...
Aaron was sick, then Dustin was sick, then I was sick, and voila. Here we are. Midweek.
And we were coming down with colds at the end of... when we recorded last week, so that was also not best.
So, yeah, what better time to go up to visit family than when you are sick, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I hope that my family is okay, but they don't listen to this, so oh well.
Oh man. And one thing that while we were traveling over the weekend, I was listening to some back episodes of the Better Podcasting podcast, including one on remembering new listeners.
Oh yeah.
And I realized I am terrible at that. We have been horrible.
Terrible.
The Dustin Off the Degree segment. That was explained once 170 episodes ago.
Yeah. And we never explained. Did we ever explain who came up with the brilliant idea?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, yeah.
But that started like episode 90.
I even came up with the pun. The Dustin part. Dustin off.
But that was like around episode 94 that started, and we're at 269. That was a long time ago. So anyway, Dustin Off the Degree has to do with my degree. It's a Bachelor of Arts in Theology with minors in History and Biblical Languages. I did not complete the second degree I was working on, which was a Master of Divinity. I got about halfway through when I called it quits and I left the Seventh Adventist Church. Yeah,
it's got some sense knocked into him.
But yeah, I was actually advanced to ministerial candidacy at one point, and so yeah, I have I need to do a better job of explaining stuff like that. So I'm Dustin. Lauren is my wife. She's
it's
awesome.
Easy for me because I don't have any background. I am just awesome. I was born awesome. I live awesome, and I have given birth to awesome. So I don't have any kind of. I've been to college but flunked out. Been to college again, dropped out. Worked a little bit but poorly because I'm sick all the time. And finally seem to have found my stride with this whole baby thing, which is funny considering that I was so anti-child forever.
But look at her. Oh wait, this is audio.
They say it's different when it's your own, and they're right, because I still don't like other children for the most part. I put on a good face, and yeah, there's a little bit of that little, aw, that's baby, so cute. But then it no. And then no. And then I am done.
Are you still taking video?
Yeah, I'm doing an experiment here where I recorded about 3 minutes, and I'm going to hyperlapse that and count how many times her little arm reached up to the microphone to try and knock it out of your way.
Oh, okay.
And how many times you had to
pull her arms down.
I can see now why I hold her for the most part.
And she also bats at your microphone.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we have for new listeners as well, we have a 9-month-old baby named Kylie. She is adorable. She's awesome. She is like the cutest thing ever on the face of the earth.
She's a good intern.
And she is the official intern of the podcast. Her
coffee is shit, though.
Rocco is our producer. He helps mark edit points, mostly by creating them with his piercing, high-pitched, shrill bark. He is our disabled Chihuahua. He was a rescue. He's mostly blind now. Basically completely blind now.
Yep.
And so, yeah, new listeners, you are now up to speed.
He's also a corgi.
Oh, yes.
But he doesn't actually bother us that much.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. So, dusting off the degree.
Oh, I don't have one this week.
The explanation was it. Okay.
No, I just don't have one this week.
That's all right.
Been busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been crazy busy. End of summer, fall is hitting. Temperatures are dropping. It feels good to be outside.
Yeah. But we do have news.
Yay!
Hurricane Florence.
Aunt Flo is coming to town.
Hurricane Florence was weird. This was a storm that followed a path that no storm on record has followed before. Normally, storms kind of go across the Atlantic in the tropics because that makes sense for a tropical storm to stay in the tropics. And then they come up with the Gulf Stream and then hit the U.S. coast or just go out to sea. This one basically did a beeline from the Azores. Actually, if you follow it from the original standing wave that started it, if you drew a straight line from where that started over the Sahara and North Carolina.
It was gunning for you.
Yeah.
North Carolina, what did you do?
Hurricanes don't do that. That is bizarre. People have died. That is sad.
Preventable, but sad.
Yep. There's been a lot of flooding. There were a lot of people who were stupid and refused to evacuate, who then had to get rescued.
I've been pumping myself up full of people rescuing animals.
Oh, nice.
Of course, it just makes me hate North Carolinians even more because they abandoned their dogs and cats when they had plenty of time to evacuate.
Yeah, when these storms are traveling across the Atlantic, you have weeks. They don't move fast.
And I don't know if there are problems with like hotels not taking people in with the pets and stuff, but oh my God.
Well, travel's always more difficult with pets.
Yeah, but you don't leave 4 dogs to drown in a kennel. That's just
okay. Yeah,
evil.
That's really bad.
They're cute little coonhounds.
But whenever a hurricane happens, especially one that's a little bit out of the ordinary, either it's bigger than usual or hits someplace it normally doesn't, or like it normally doesn't, the right-wing radical Christian bigot assholes come out of the woodworks.
They're hilarious.
So let's start with Pat Robertson.
Well, the odd turn and bizarre is because you and I prayed, and it's not hitting this area. But look at that. It said it's bizarre. Why? Because God's people prayed, and that's what happened. I mean, this is a miracle, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, it is a miracle because God saved Pat Robertson and his Virginia Beach compound. I think it's Virginia Beach, or at least near Virginia Beach, by keeping it following the path that was predicted.
Right. It's not like it started to approach and then, absconded somewhere else. No, he was like, oh, it's not going to hit us. Well, I'm going to pray it away and get all the credit.
Like, literally, it hitting him would have been the furthest extent of what was predicted. The least likely outcome that was still possible. That didn't happen. That's not a miracle. That is statistics.
There we go. But, whatever. Old man's got to pat himself on the back all the time just to keep purposeful living, I guess.
Except it's a little worse than this. He's claiming it's a miracle that the storm did what he said. No, it did not. I think Pat needs a reminder of what he said when he told the hurricane what to do.
You Hurricane Florence, we speak to you in the name of Jesus, and we command this storm to cease its forward motion and go harmlessly into the Atlantic. Go up north, away from land, and veer off in the name of Jesus.
The way he says Jesus always cracks me up. He's so old.
Now, he also asked God to create a shield of protection around his compound.
Around just his compound. Wow, that's not selfish or anything.
The hurricane didn't hit his compound.
Therefore, God.
It also didn't go harmlessly out into the Atlantic. It stalled off the coast of North Carolina, started drifting south.
It killed 5 people.
20.
Oh, yeah.
Half the deaths were in Florida.
Okay, what the hell, Florida?
Floridians?
They're just doing it for attention now. No, that's actually really sad, but seriously.
the Florida cases, and I don't think it was quite half.
This time.
They thought it was a good idea to go swimming in the ocean with a hurricane 2 states north.
Yeah, that's suicide by idiocy. And
I
have to admit that does sound like something I would do, though. It's like, well, it's not going to actually hit us, and I've always wanted to go swim in a hurricane.
Well, I know from trips down to California that everybody hits the beach if there's a hurricane off the coast of Baja.
Well, that's when the best waves are, right? But it's just funny that Florida gets decimated all the time, and they finally get a hurricane that doesn't hit Florida, and people still die. It's like,
yeah. But most of the deaths were in North and South Carolina with intense flooding, trees knocked down, generators exploding. No,
it really was awful. It was as bad, if not worse, than what they predicted.
Oh, yeah. This is a very bad one. And Pat Robertson, you did not get what you asked God to do. Stop being a pretentious asshole.
And donate your compound to the people who need it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Rick Joyner, of course, also had to join in. And his starting point was a article that was blaming Donald Trump for the hurricane for ignoring climate change. I haven't validated that that's what that article said. It was either New York Times or Washington Post, and I have a tendency not to go to those sites because you can only see so many. But if what he's
AWOL.
Yeah, but if what he's saying is what happened, what they said, then that was dumb. They shouldn't have said that because Donald Trump's actions have not contributed to this hurricane.
Yeah, no, that's just petty and childish to do.
And like North Carolina, yeah, you can blame the Republican government in North Carolina for their actions contributing to this hurricane by explicitly prohibiting the state from doing anything to prepare for the effects of climate change, which they desperately need to do, build up those seawalls, because this hurricane did bring, I saw estimates, the storm surge was 6 inches higher than it would have been without climate change. So sea level rise alone has already had effects. And the odds of strange and unusual storms like this happening are increased by climate change. Climate change doesn't cause any of the storms, it just makes them more likely.
Right.
It's like waiting to die.
Yeah, and we know that the coastal areas are going to get hit the hardest, so we need to promote studies into, guessing what's going to happen, better tools for prediction, and I don't know, maybe build some walls and move people out of areas. And I mean, I don't know. I consider Florida's a complete loss at this point.
Oh, yeah.
They're just gone. Too bad about the Everglades, but I hope somebody saved the manatees.
Florida.
Oh, the humanity.
Florida and Louisiana probably won't exist in 100 years.
Yeah, and that's really sad. Not if you kind of plan for it, though.
Yeah, there are actions that can be taken that desperately need to be taken. But anyway,
move them to the Midwest. Nobody wants to move there, but
yeah, take people out of flooding and hurricanes and put them in the path of tornadoes.
Well, when it comes to the United States, it's one or the other. I mean, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes,
or fire.
Oh my God, is that 4 elementals? That's air, earth, fire, and water. Jesus Christ.
We're fucked.
Oh my God, you guys, do you know what this means? We need to get the last airbender here now. Oh my God. Yeah, oh my God, this is as bad as like building on a Indian cemetery. Oh my God. That's actually really sad. Maybe that's why this is all happening. Killed all the Indians.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Okay,
sorry,
so
my tangent.
Rick Joyner, after saying, no, that wasn't the cause, at least not much, he knows the real reason for hurricanes.
The scripture makes it clear what causes these things. It is sin. Sin, which is clearly defined in scripture. One of the worst things we could do to bring curse on a nation is the shedding of innocent blood. What could be more innocent than the unborn? And look at what America's doing.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
You know, fuck all those people that we kill with drones, but those unborn babies.
The clusters of cells. Yeah. So, okay, for starters, he's wrong.
Yeah, he is. They give a freaking recipe in the Bible on how to cause an abortion. I don't think abortion's really the worst thing in the world here.
Not only is there a recipe on how to do abortions in the Bible, there are no prohibitions on abortions in the Bible, and if a man causes another man's wife to miscarry, there's a fine. After the baby's born, if you kill somebody else's baby, you get put to death.
Because there is value in life.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah.
And even in the Bible days, they recognize that there is a difference between a baby that has been born and something that hasn't.
The breath of life.
So, okay, so he's wrong at that level. There is also, believe it or not, absolutely zero evidence that there's any connection between sin and natural disasters.
Yeah, that was a huge leap there. Well, that's the whole. You have to sell something. You know, you have to convince people that there's something wrong and that you have the cure. And obviously, if you convince people that sin causes natural disasters, then you can sell them the cure to that. But yeah, no.
And that's despite the fact that hurricanes always hit the Bible Belt. It's like the Bible Belt the belt buckle is a magnet that draws hurricanes. If God is trying to... Now, okay, this is one thing where I think he might actually be getting smart, he being Rick Joyner. If you look at the statistics, the South has the highest rate of abortions.
Okay. That might not have anything to do with socioeconomic poverty or...
Access to contraceptives, access to healthcare, access to...
Education.
Yeah. But the South does have the highest abortion rate. So at least he's getting closer there as opposed to the usual one of God sent hurricanes because of gay people.
Yeah.
Now, I do think there might also be a little bit of, in this case, this hurricane was because of abortions, whereas the others were because of gay sex.
The gays.
Because if you look at the normal spots, like if you imagine the United States is as a person, with Florida as the penis gets blown by God most of the time by the hurricanes.
Which is why it's all diseased and stuff.
Sometimes the next most likely spot is the ass, Louisiana. And next most is Texas, the ass cheek. And in this time, the hurricane hit the belly. Okay, yeah, maybe.
He's been crafting that joke all week, guys. Just give him a laugh, okay?
I haven't been crafting it all week. I thought of it several days ago, and I haven't been able to actually make it work.
All right.
All right, so let's go ahead and take a break. Atheist Nomads is proudly brought to you by listeners just like you. You can find out how you can become a patron at patreon.com/atheistnomads. That's patreon.com/atheistnomads. And we have 2 new patrons.
Woo!
Daniel J. and Janet Y.
They are the patron saint of Daniel and the patron saint
of Janet.
Janet. All Daniels and all Janets benefit from their protection.
Yeah, thank you both. This makes 3 new patrons this month. We have lost 1 patron this month, so we're still up by a net of 2.
Yay!
It's a good month.
Yeah, and I totally understand why the other person had to drop. But luckily, there's lots of people out there who economically are doing fine. So if they could support the arts in any way that they can.
And there is a new way you can support us. Flatter. That is spelled FLATTR. And you may remember this from like 2010, a long time ago, when some blogs had Flatter buttons. They might still, but I don't visit blogs very often. But yeah, there's Flatter buttons where you could give them a tiny little bit of money. Flatter has stuck around and they have revamped their platform to be even creepier. You install an app on your phone or an extension on your browser, and it watches your activity for where you're spending your time, and then you can pledge money to support the creators that you choose to support, and then it gets divided up among them based on how much time you're spending on them. So if you listen to 5 podcasts and all 5 podcasts are on Flatter, and you say want to give $10 a month to those podcasts, and they all release the same amount of content, they each get $2.
You can find that on our MySpace page.
So anyway, if you want to check that out, you can. If you're on Flatter or want to sign up on Flatter, you can search for us.
Basically, we're any alternatives to Patreon or PayPal.
Because
and if you have ideas on how you want to donate, then let us know.
We will make it as easy as possible to give us money whatever way you want. So yeah, Patreon is being weird. They had the hold on my account, which we talked about last week. That has been lifted. It's finally lifted on Friday, which means my account was on hold for 9 days.
With no explanation.
It took them 5 days to respond to my support request asking why. And they finally responded when they lifted the hold, with the explanation being that there was a suspected fraudulent pledge. So because one patron may have been fraudulent, they held up all of the money.
Yeah, that was not cool, Patreon.
There has also been issues in recent months with some of the payments being processed by new payment processors that has resulted in a substantial increase in how many payments are getting declined by the bank. And I also noticed while I was on hold that there have been a number of seemingly mostly LGBT creators and at least one atheist podcast that were getting flagged as not safe for work or as adult content. And one of these was Callie Wright from the Gaytheist Manifesto. She actually had already been invited to to Patreon's conference. So she got to ask them at the conference, what the fuck's going on? And this is because of the Online Child Sex Trafficking Act that we talked about several months ago that will do nothing to help with sex trafficking and be used as a tool to punish innocent people.
Yes, like us.
Well, it actually wasn't used. It hasn't been used against us.
No.
So anyway, they finally reversed the flag on Callie. They released her money, so she got her money now. That took like 6 weeks, though.
Wow.
That really sucks. It looks like it was probably a episode title that included the word pussy. Got it flagged. A person finally had to look at it because she rose enough of a stink, and they reversed that.
Her pussy rose a stink.
Yeah, so this sucks.
We're lucky that we don't depend on the money, but there are people who that's their job.
Mm-hmm.
And as awesome as it is for people to donate, it doesn't do them any good if this company isn't doing what they say they're going to do with that money.
Yeah.
That's bad. I mean, ugh.
Well, and one of our patrons even sent us some money on PayPal to help cover that gap. Well, Patreon had finally released the money, but that was still greatly appreciated. And it sucks. Unfortunately,
because we're saving up for a new mixer. So interface so that Lauren can have her sound
and a tablet so you can have a soundboard.
Boo, boo, boo.
Only if you use it.
That's the drum roll.
That's a fart.
No, it's the fart.
They're the same.
No, drum roll is it has an even tone. It doesn't go up or down.
Anyway, so Patreon's been weird, and they also are horrible in terms of not being transparent about anything or giving you any information when they do anything negative towards you.
If they're any more transparent, they'd be a brick wall. Boo, boo, boo.
They are not fun to work with at all. But we'll talk about that more later. PayPal isn't really doing much better right now. So China first banned and removed all ASMR videos. These are videos of people making sounds that are designed to create a physical stimulation.
It's really cool. It's like the sound of like when people scratching pencil on paper or rubbing cloth together. It's just soothing white noise.
Yeah, and a lot of people with depression and anxiety use it to help calm themselves or put themselves asleep.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's usually women that are doing it, and China removed them to try to get rid of pornography.
That is probably because it started out as just these women making these noises, and okay, whatever. And then they started wearing lingerie while they did it, and then that sexualized it enough that people were like, I don't know, got them banned from China because China bans everything. It is not pornographic.
Yeah. Some is erotic, but it's not pornographic.
Yeah, and the sensation itself is not erotic. So for the 2% of people who have this physical reaction to these sounds, if they get off on it, that's all right, but you don't shut it down an entire content creation thing because of 2% of people. Kylie agrees.
And, okay, so YouTube also demonetized them, and now PayPal is banning them for life.
That is stupid.
And holding their funds.
That's just illegal?
Nope.
It's in the terms of service?
Yep.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And this one's happening because of these same stupid laws being misapplied. And it's also being driven by 4chan and 8chan.
Okay. So, two thoughts come to mind when you mention this to me, because I used to go on 4chan all the time. Was that, okay, so these guys are being dicks and trying to show that the law is stupid and shut down the entire thing. Then there's the second thought that it's probably just a bunch of the misogynist alt-right assholes that are on 4chan and 8chan who are trying to shut these women down.
And they are congratulating themselves for punishing these whores.
Yeah, so it looked like number 2 was the answer to that, and that sucks.
And they are calling them whores.
Yeah, so, if I still visited 4chan, that would be me deleting 4chan, but I don't anymore because I kind of grew out of it.
This law makes it impossible to know what's going to be enforced. So that means that every payment processor on the back end is panicked about getting in trouble, because if their money ends up in any way contributing to any child sex trafficking, they're in serious, serious trouble.
Yeah. Okay. So, for example, if somebody were to send me money through Facebook Messenger, and there is an image on my Facebook that shows a naked baby butt, because baby butts are adorable, that could be construed as child pornography and get me kicked off of Facebook and my funds shut down.
Right, because Facebook would be terrified of losing access to the payment processors, and the payment processors, none of them want to be the test case in court.
Yeah. So instead, there's a whole bunch of lawsuits on the other side.
There's at least one.
At least one.
So yeah, this definitely sucks, and it opens up concerns about who's going to be targeted next. And it's starting to look like this is it's hard to avoid the tinfoil hat.
Yeah, it really is. But now that we know what the reasoning all is, hopefully your tinfoil hat is a little less tinny. They're not going after specific types of content creators.
Well, 4chan is, and 8chan.
Okay, well,
they are going after a specific type.
Okay, yeah.
As their first, which could just be their low-hanging fruit test case for who can they shut down.
Yeah.
And this sucks, and this law is horrible enough that it is completely up to interpretation, which is why the lawsuit against it from Electronic Frontier Foundation, ACLU, and a number of other organizations, is suing on grounds that it's unconstitutionally vague. So yeah, this whole thing is just, it's bullshit. And so there's a certain extent, there is no reason to assume that this is going to be going further than it is, but there's also good reason to assume this is all, the explanations are excuses, and that more abuses of this law are going to happen.
Yeah. More abuses are definitely in the future.
And there was a report that came out after a think tank did a thorough investigation that has found that YouTube has been systematically, although unintentionally, radicalizing people towards the far right.
No. Yeah. Yeah, duh.
Uh-huh. The algorithm is smart. Nobody understands the algorithm, including the people who programmed the algorithms that created it. But the algorithm is designed to maximize viewing time.
Right, and people love to watch trash burn. So they're going to click on things that enrage them, that get them riled up, make them hate.
So this has successfully taken conservatives to far right-wing Nazi alt-right white supremacist levels. It's also taken Green Party voters and Bernie Sanders supporters and driven them to the far right.
I don't know how that could have. I mean, how does that flip happen?
The Bernie Bros.
Ugh, I forgot about them.
Yeah.
Okay. Nope. I see it.
And so Facebook and Twitter have gotten a lot of attention for the part they've played in spreading misinformation and being used by the Russians to undermine elections. YouTube hasn't. Now, there isn't necessarily evidence that YouTube is getting manipulated by the Russian government. It doesn't need to. The algorithm is designed such that
it does it for them.
And also, these big name far right wing YouTube creators, they make a lot of money for YouTube by saying stuff that grabs and holds people's attention and gets people to keep watching more videos.
Yeah, and actually get them to sit through the ad.
And if YouTube can continue giving them more viewers, that's more people that are going to be making money for them.
Yeah. Of course, mine is mostly Mr. Science Theater 3000 movies and comedy specials.
And mine's mostly tech and woodworking.
Yeah.
And a little bit of geography, because I like geography. Okay, so we do have an update on Sam Young, the former Mormon bishop, who has been protesting the explicit one-on-one interviews of minors by Mormon bishops.
Yeah.
He has now been formally excommunicated by the Mormon Church.
Yeah. Not a good way to handle that church. Oh my gosh.
The way he responded was to take the unopened letter that he'd received from his stake president, hop on a plane to Salt Lake, and in front of a large crowd, with it being live streamed on the internet, he opened and read the letter.
Wow.
Right in front of the Mormon temple.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That was his excommunication letter?
Although officially Mormons are moving away from the term excommunication and they're going to removal of membership. Same thing.
Yeah.
And actually the way they do it is more excommunication than removal of membership. Removal of membership is you're just no longer a member. Mormon removal of membership is you're no longer a member of the community you live in.
Yeah.
You are excluded from everything.
Yeah. Businesses,
weddings,
funerals,
everything. They did not handle it well, and there has been an uptick in resignations from the Mormon Church, quite possibly as a result of this.
Well, I mean, until they themselves have to turn and deal with the possible abuse that's happened, alleged abuse. And I say that in quotation marks because that's the key word for, yeah, this happened, but they're not owning up to it. We know that those tons of those interviews are inappropriate. They're still going on. And it has led to sexual abuse.
And even if it isn't just leading to sexual abuse, it is still scarring.
Yeah.
And they don't if they want to continue doing these interviews, they've already officially advised bishops not to ask explicit questions. They still do it. They need to make the rule that bishops aren't allowed to be alone with minors.
Yeah, that should be true with any religious institution at this point.
That should just be good standard practice.
Yeah. What bothers me is that it's come out in the open. Everybody knows about it. And some of these bishops are still doing it. They're still asking explicit questions, which to me just tells me that they're just getting their rocks off because they know better. They've been told not to do it, and they're still doing it.
Yep.
I don't believe for an inch that they've all stopped doing that.
No, they haven't. Yeah. And the Indiana Satanic Temple has now joined their state's Adopt a Highway program.
Oh, good for them.
And they have successfully completed not just one, but 2 cleanups of the highway. So they're making their community literally a cleaner, nicer place to live. So what do you think the local take on it is?
What?
They're pissed.
Well, of course they're pissed, but what's their take on it?
Well, okay, so for one, Jill Konija, whose property line is just a few feet from one of the signs, we're obviously believers in God. It's like advertising a satanic church in front of our home.
But it's not. It's a public space.
And it's the Adopt a Highway, not adopting her home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's at this point, it's just pettiness.
Mary Rossworm lives across the street. She's concerned about this affecting her property value and said there could maybe only be one other sign that's worse that's to have up in front of your house, which would be the KKK.
Wow, I'm really glad that that's what she said and not something worse. Because yeah, that would be bad.
So equating the Satanic Temple to
the KKK.
Yeah, there is a huge difference. One wants to keep church and state separate and likes playing dress up. The other wants to keep white Christians and everything that's not a white Christian separate, and they like to play dress up and burn crosses and lynch people.
Yeah, I don't think she meant that they were literally the same. I think she just meant like the effect on the property values is the same. And she may not be wrong. I don't think it will actually affect the monetary value of the property. I don't think it can do that. But it could possibly affect the attitudes of passerbys on that neighborhood. Because I've had this discussion about the Idaho Atheist sign. They've been trying to get it replaced because it's been stained for like freaking 15 years, but it's not going to happen. But we were just discussing adopting a different segment of highway at one point, and this kind of stuff came up. It's like we're just cleaning the highway, but people will look into things a little bit crazier than. Yeah.
Alrighty, it's time for our last break, and we have some feedback and then some more news.
We love hearing from our listeners. You can email us at contact@atheistnomads.com, tweet us @atheistnomads, send us a message on our Facebook page at facebook.com/atheistnomads, or better yet, call us and leave us a message at 541-203-0666. We might even play it on the show. You can also help us out by leaving us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcast directory of choice.
All right, so we got a message from Danielle via Patreon. I love listening to Mikey, Lauren, and Dustin in the morning. It's like hilarious radio morning show, and Mikey always makes me laugh.
Yeah, he's pretty funny. He's a professional. What can we say?
Oh yeah, he is a hilarious person. He guarantees that there will always be bonus content.
Because he doesn't know how to shut up.
And also that I will have a lot of editing to do.
Yeah, but we could be pretty beige, so it's nice to have that splash of color.
Yep. And from Al via email, Mikey is amazing, but really doesn't understand the placebo effect. Most people don't. Even reputable medical websites do a crappy job of explaining it. I blame Hollywood. I really need people to understand that you can't think yourself well. If that were the case, we wouldn't Wouldn't have spent all that time and money developing medical science. You continue to exceed my expectations.
Nice.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Al. No, yeah, the placebo effect is grossly misunderstood.
Hell, at this point, it may not even be a thing, right? Wasn't that a more recent study saying that?
Well, okay, so it was placebo.
It's complicated.
Placebo means nothing. And then people started seeing, there started being some studies on the placebo. Also the nocebo effect, which is where you give yourself psychosomatic issues. Because you can think yourself into worse health.
Oh, yeah. Guilty as charged.
That sucks. And so it kind of made sense that the opposite would be true, that positive thinking would help you, improve. And there are studies that have suggested that there is a reduction in subjective measures, which means...
Not quantitative, qualitative.
Yes. So, pain.
Anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pain, anxiety, anything psychological.
And that, I mean, you could understand what placebo is and still have an understanding of what the placebo effect is. The placebo effect was people trying to explain why these series of symptoms or situations seem to be occurring. This person seems to get better when all they take is sugar pills. Why is that? Looking into the placebo effect. But yeah, the term does get way overused. It almost doesn't mean what it originally started meaning.
Uh-huh. Well, and it's also one where, how can you even study the placebo if you're comparing nothing to something? You don't have an actual control.
The placebo usually is the control.
Right.
But when people start getting better on the placebo, there's got to be some explanation of that.
People tend to get better.
That's one of the explanations.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, time passes and you get better. Or situations change and you get better.
If you have a cold and you take vitamin C, you will probably get better in 5 to 7 days.
The placebos are not curing cancers here.
If you
They're maybe making your day slightly better because you think you're taking something that you're not.
Right. And with the vitamin C, with the cold example, if you don't take the vitamin C, you're still going to be better in 5 to 7 days. Didn't do anything. With pain, if you don't think about the pain, it isn't going to hurt as bad. And if something is distracting you from the pain, such as making you think that it's better, it can help by not making you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to anecdote this, but something similar did happen to me where I was having migraines. So I was told to journal the migraines so I could keep track of them. And I started thinking about them so much. Every tiny headache would turn into a migraine. And I was having migraines every day. It was awful. And then one day I just finally thought, I wonder if this is psychosomatic. And I stopped having migraines because I stopped worrying about it.
Now,
this is not that.
That would be more nocebo effect, or just the fact that stress is a migraine trigger for you.
Yes, and the stress of being ill can cause symptoms to seem worse than they are. So when you're given a sugar pill and told that it could help, without being told it's a sugar pill, for example, that the worry and the stress is alleviated, and it does possibly enable you to get better.
Well, the fact that you think you're getting treatment...
That is huge.
Is treatment.
Yes. Anecdote done.
So, American Atheist has been encouraging Kentucky schools to not violate the Constitution by going ahead and just skipping those trips they were planning to go to the Ark Encounter. Ken Ham has responded by saying, no, this is a perfectly fine place that you can bring public school students to as long as you get permission slips.
Wow. I mean, I have no patience for people who think that promoting Christianity in public schools is okay. I have even less for Ken Ham and young Earth creationists. Compared to like other Christians, I would even let them slide. But no, you do not take publicly educated students and take them to a young Earth creationist mecca.
Yeah. Now, really the only Christians that are trying to push Christianity in schools are young Earth creationists.
That's because they've been booted out and they think that that's not fair, but it is.
Most of the other Christians don't care.
Yeah, they wouldn't. They either don't care and would sign the permission slip anyway because they thought, oh, well, field trip. Or they don't care and they wouldn't sign because they recognize what a complete waste of resources that is.
Mm-hmm. And using school resources to transport school students during school time to a churchy event is illegal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
Take them to the zoo.
So the state of Arizona is working on their science standards, as many states do periodically. And the superintendent of education there, Diane Douglas, picked a interesting character to weigh in with a review.
That's a good way of saying it. He is kind of cartoonish, isn't he?
The person that was picked is Joseph Kiesel, who is a biology teacher at Arizona Christian University. He is the president of the Arizona Origin Science Association and, quote, a staunch believer in the idea that enough scientific evidence exists to back up the biblical story of creation. He also thinks that there was enough room in the ark for baby dinosaurs.
I did not hear that one. Wow.
And he's reviewing the evolution standards.
Okay, well, that superintendent needs to get voted out ASAP.
She's already on the way out of office.
Damage done. Damn.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he is weakening the standards as quickly as possible.
That sucks. I thought Idaho was bad. Idaho is bad. That's worse.
So instead of teaching that evolution is the explanation for the unity and diversity of organisms living and extinct, it is going to say that evolution is an explanation for the unity and diversity of organisms. That change from the definite to the indefinite article is big.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Arizona. We'll send you fossils.
I think they have their own.
Okay. Go dig some fossils, kids.
And Texas is also working on their curriculum.
Well, anything that comes out of Texas school curriculum is suspect.
And so there were recommendations that were coming into this to streamline the number of names that are required to be covered in the history curriculum throughout education. And so they decided to go ahead and do that. And instead of just following the recommendations, they have gone ahead and decided that they need to identify the defenders of the Alamo with heroism. That had been recommended to be removed. Nope, that's staying. Moses, as an influencer on the writings of the nation's founding documents, was recommended to be removed. It's staying.
That's stupid.
References to Judeo-Christian values, and also requiring students to explain how, quote, Arab rejection of the state of Israel has led to ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Those are also staying.
Oh, God. That's that whole Israel protest thing again, and I'm just...
Those were all recommended to be removed. So, Moses is still in. Billy Graham is still in. Helen Keller's out.
What?
So is Hillary Clinton.
Oh, that's... Well, and this is funny, is that everybody's introduced to Helen Keller's story through The Miracle Worker play/movie, which is a movie about the teacher. It wasn't even about Helen Keller. It doesn't go on to show that she was a suffragette, that she was a huge fighter for civil rights for women, for colored people, for disabled people, and that she kept that going through her whole life. You don't get any of that. And they still took her out.
Yep.
That woman is so underrated. She deserves to be on a coin, and that's how they treat her.
Yeah. All right. Pastors in Rumford, Maine are...
Rumford sounds like the name of an old sheepdog. Oh, Rumford.
They're trying to get the Rumford Public Library to remove books from the banned books display.
The librarians are probably just flipping them off. Jesus.
Yeah. They are...
Okay, which ones do they want specifically? Because, oh my god, that is so funny that they're not ironically doing this.
It is...
Seriously.
It's just the gay ones.
Oh, well, okay then.
Yeah.
Jeez. So the one with the penguin that has two dads and...
So, queer, two boys kissing. Yeah, they want those out.
Where are they going? When they get banned from the banned books, where do they go? Back into the shelf? No, guys, this is the whole reason for these displays.
Now, we got an awesome reply to this story on Twitter.
Oh, yeah?
Uh-huh. Maybe the Bible should be banned.
There you go.
Add the Bible to the banned book display, because...
Technically, it is, right?
Two boys kissing hasn't resulted in anybody being murdered. The Bible has resulted in the murders of millions.
Yeah, you can't teach the Bible in schools, so, I mean, yes, technically it is a banned book.
Still in school libraries, usually.
Yeah, it is.
And definitely in...
quote-unquote reference material.
Yeah. And we have been talking off and on, periodically bringing up what's going on in the Xinjiang Autonomous Region in Western China.
Oh.
Well,
this was painful.
The most recent report is finding that there is 1.1 million people in internment camps. China does not deny the existence of these camps. They say that they are job training camps.
That was the best they could come up with.
Yeah.
Well, at least they didn't call them concentration camps.
But yeah, what the Guardian is calling this is re-education camps.
Yeah, okay.
They're bringing Muslims from the Uyghur population here, and they're putting them into camps where they're trying to force them to renounce Islam and become good communists.
Yeah. Sounds pretty internment campy.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And all of this has been done in the name of counterterrorism.
There are plenty of people here in the U.S. who would love to do the same thing.
The problem is, this terrorism they're countering were protests and a few riots.
China has a terrible, terrible history of persecuting anybody who isn't Han Chinese. This isn't about communism. This isn't about religion. This is about Han versus the other. It's an old fight that has been going on for a long time.
And the Uyghurs are a Turkic people.
Oh God, they're so far beyond what they consider to be the important population of China that I'm surprised that they're even on their radar. But yeah, they are, and this could result in some kind of genocide because.
Well, and if you look at the population...
It may already have. We don't know.
If you look at the population demographics of that region, when it was established, it was an autonomous region set up to be the homeland for the Uyghurs.
Like a reservation?
Who are now a minority.
Yeah, that stinks of genocide.
Tens of millions, at the very least, in the prettiest version of it, tens of millions of Han Chinese have been encouraged to move there to change the ethnic demographic to be predominantly Han Chinese so that the majority of the population can't ask for independence.
Yeah. Russia does the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure America's done the same thing.
Well...
Basically what happened in Texas, right?
That happened there. There was, after the Louisiana Purchase, there was get white people there as soon as possible. Oregon country was purchased, and then there was a huge encouragement to get white people in Oregon. The whole Homestead Act was to do that.
This has been done a lot in the past. It's not considered to be okay by major governments to do this now.
Yeah.
So I can't believe that China is just... Well, they can get away with it. So they are.
Mm-hmm. Because
it's really sad.
Nobody can stand up to China because China makes all of our stuff.
Yeah, they own all our money too.
But Trump is still trying, which is not going to end well for us.
No. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
And he's not trying in good ways. He's just trying in ways that result in
good
American
ratings.
Farmers suffering and the price of goods going up. So, yeah. Well, that's it for news. Lauren, Thank you for joining me.
Yay.
And listeners, I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes and talk some business with you. If you are interested in the app and interviews and my thoughts about how I handle the podcast's finances, go ahead and listen on.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so you've made it to the end of the episode, and I'm going to go ahead and take the chance here to talk to you about some stuff that's going on. First off, I am rethinking some of the expenses for the show and just the general financing for the show. So, good place to start with that is that in the last several months, we've lost our largest supporters. I know one lost his job and the other one, his financial situation changed, so dropped the patronage. And, that happens. I don't blame them for this because it's not their fault that things changed. And it's important that, like one of my big goals with getting support from people for the show is that I don't want this to cause anybody any financial hardship. And since the show at least covers its cost, it doesn't cause us hardship. But any and all support we get is really nice. It is really appreciated, and it definitely does help, and it means a difference, or makes a difference. But I'm also looking at some of the expenses for the show. And, like for one example was with the hosting. Back in 2014, I made some major changes with that, which cut down costs. But those costs have risen, and they're back up to where they were before. So I'm looking at cutting those again. And one easy way to cut 40% of the cost of the show would be by dropping the app. You may not know we have an app because I've done a horrible job of promoting it, because I viewed it based on the promoting I got of the concept of an app. I went with the mindset of it's there to be another way for people to find the show. I never viewed it as a thing to try to push listeners who are listening some other way too. And people are listening on it. A whole 1% of the listener base. I've asked Libsyn what the normal levels are for an app, and the response I got is they've seen as high as 50%. 5% is pretty normal for somebody who promotes the app heavily and puts bonus content there. Well, I put the bonus content on Patreon, not the app, and I don't promote it heavily because I don't view it as something that I should try to get my listeners to stop listening on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict or whatever other app they're using to use the Atheist Nomads app. So that's problematic for me, just from that standpoint. And it was sold as a great way to increase visibility on Android. And Android is where we usually get a whopping 1 listen per episode. Yeah. So we even get most of the app listens on iOS, which is where most of the listens come from anyway. And with iOS, you have Apple Podcasts, so why are you using our app? Yeah, it gives you nice, convenient links to find how to contact us. It gives you really easy access to the full back catalog. And I release episodes a little bit early. If I have something done well in advance, I will release it to the app at noon the day before the normal release. Otherwise, it's when I upload it, which is usually about 9:30 or 10 o'clock on Wednesday. So not a huge, you get it 3 hours early. That's not big. So yeah, it's 40% of the cost of the show for 1% of the listeners. The return on the investment has not been great, but if it's of value to you and you want to save the app, I'm willing to keep it if you're willing to pay for it. So it costs $10 a month and $110 a year. The $10 a month is what I pay Libsyn for maintenance and development of the app, and the $110 a year is what I pay Apple to have an account to put apps in the App Store. If we got $10 in support, specifically, preferably over PayPal for now, specifically targeting or specifically for the app. So you'd need to also tell me that money is for the app and not just because you want to help support the show. I would keep it alive. Probably. That would increase the chances by cutting the cost in half. with $20 a month in support specifically targeted for the app, I would definitely keep it going. This means if everyone who uses the app, not even everybody, but if some of the people who use the app give me some money each month for it, I'll keep it around. If nobody expresses support for it, then I will be killing the app probably late October or sometime in November. With some of the weirdness we talked about with Patreon and also with PayPal, those are the two places that people support the show. I am torn and conflicted on how to handle that. So on the one hand, I have principles. I want to follow those principles. I want to live by those principles. And on the other hand, I want to make it easy for people who want to give me money because I like getting money. Patreon's values as a company seem to be pretty good and in line with what we do. However, their policies and actions are shitty. They absolutely lack transparency. They treat creators like garbage. They are not a company that I enjoy dealing with, which means I'm not sure I want to keep relying on them as the primary source of money for the podcast. And PayPal is also kowtowing to efforts from 4chan to silence women. That is despicable. They should do better than that. They should stand up to these efforts to silence these voices. And I've basically been using PayPal as the podcast bank account, which means if somebody were to attack me, or even one of the guests on the show, one of the regulars, I could lose my money. The money that keeps the show going, the money that pays for hosting and the app and all of that. And because some of those bills are annual. They're not all monthly bills. And that would really suck. So I'm considering opening up another account with my bank to be the place where podcast money gets processed through ultimately. That would also help, that would still maintain the benefit that I'm getting from PayPal of keeping it separate from my own personal, the money that comes from my paycheck. But that adds another layer of complexity. I am considering adding an additional option to support the show where the money more directly goes into that bank account. That'd be something to be hosted on the website. I am considering making a second attempt after the previous one that didn't really take off years back before Patreon to create a premium section on the podcast where bonus material goes with a premium feed for bonus materials. If this is something that interests you, let me know. Feedback on this will definitely help guide my decision-making process, because my brain can be a messy place, and I am trying to avoid getting paranoid about all of this, and they aren't making it easy. I said they. It's not easy right now to avoid being paranoid, because the world is a crazy, messed up place, with the government doing weird things and stupid things, and with right-wing radicals being downright vicious. It's scary. Oh, and not only that, we have the right-wing radicals being vicious, and platforms trying to rein them in, and the content I produce is offensive enough to enough people, not just in the US, but around the world, that I could very easily get caught up in the crossfire there, and I don't want that to happen. So let me know what you guys think. One other thing along those lines is I was chatting with a patron earlier this week. He was a bit surprised that Atheist Nomads doesn't get more support than it does, and a big part of that is I suck at begging. So I am going to try to make an effort to do better at that, to try to guilt those of you who are able and willing to give me money, because it helps, it makes a difference. I would like to have enough coming in that I can actually start saving up money for equipment upgrades. I would like to have enough money to be able to pay the regulars that come on the show. And these are all things that I can do with more money, but it's not going to happen if I don't get more. So I will try not to get annoying, at least not too annoying, a little bit. And then finally, I am wanting to do more interviews and would like some feedback on whether you like them as a semi-regular part of this show, which has kind of been this year, or would you be interested in a separate show with, 1 or 2 interviews per week on a separate feed? Yeah, let me know. Anyway, that's it for this week. Remember, not all those who wander are lost.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Atheist Nomads. You can find show notes and contact information at atheistnomads.com. Follow us on Twitter at Atheist Nomads, and like us on Facebook at facebook.com/atheistnomads. Please subscribe to the show in iTunes, Stitcher, or your podcatcher of choice, and while you're there, feel free to leave us a review. Theme music is courtesy of Sturdy Fred. Until next time, this has been the Atheist Nomads.